All right, guys. Well, here we are. It is 5 in the morning. I really like all night I've been like trying to do a video. I've been throwing up a lot. That's weird. What? You do a bunch of drugs and then you're sick afterwards? It's whack. Lame. It's just been a fucking weird night on top. I've missed all these fucking spot shaving. I feel like 100 times better. I think I'm more like just embarrassed by like my shitty behavior. In like so many different ways. Like I've like fucked off my relationship and, I guess like blacked out drunk and on Xanax. I lost all of my luggage, but not only that, it gets better. I hit up I don't even know how I got this person's phone number, but, a celebrity that I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how I got this. I got a blocked call earlier tonight, and it was this dude that I don't want to say his name, but he's British and he's a famous British guy. And he was like, he's like, you fucking called me. You fucking called me. You threatened me. You threatened me like a fucking saucer or something. I think he said saucer. So I was like, a what? It's like, who the fuck is that? And he said his name, and I was like, honestly, I thought it was like somebody fucking with me. I was like, I don't even know you, dude. I'm not even sure how I got this person's number, but like, I'll fucking sue you. I'll fucking sue you. I will fucking sue you so fast. You fucking junkie. I was like, well, hey. Who said I was a junkie? He's like, my fucking girlfriend, mate. I guess that's Australian. This guy was British. But yeah, what the fuck? It's like somebody I don't even know. I don't know. But I guess I don't know. I shouldn't be talking about it because I guess he's mad. Bitch. So that happened. And then, like, I've been puking all night. I don't even feel like that sick. And I usually don't have nausea. It's usually the other way. Like I usually shit a lot. And like beat off like while I'm shitting. I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom. It stinks in here. Don't come in here. No, we had sex and like I lasted for like 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Which is pretty, like, I'm not dope sick because I'm transitioned onto the subs. It's just been a weird, almost puked. Again, that's been one of the reasons that I haven't been able to, this shit is driving me nuts. Jesus Christ, I have to shave. I'm still, like, all over the place right now. So just to, like, because I got to get back in the swing with, like, stories and shit. I want to get back to the origins. I want to get back to Henry. Remember that? Like, the storylines were going to collide. But instead of doing all that, I'm going to do, I don't know if it's like a 2-part video, but I'll tell you a story I know that I've never told anyone. It's about me getting butt fucked. No, it's not. It's about, when I stabbed the skinhead when I was 19, but we'll get into that in a second. Before that, and believe me, I'm just doing this because I got to get back in the swing of telling stories, dancing like a clown because I'm soft. I'm sorry for my behavior. I got British celebrities mad at. I don't even know this dude. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't even know. Never even heard of you. I have heard of him. I mean, if I said his name, you'd be like, what? That's so random. I don't even know how that happened. Tomorrow I got a meeting with Lucas, with the director of the doc, who seems like he's willing to move forward. I know I am. Like, I was like, look, man, there's no drama. Like, there's no he said, she said shit. It's just, like, I want to do solutions here. I don't want to, like, keep this shit going. Because, I mean, fuck, it's my fault, really. I got all drugged out and, like, couldn't handle it. And people are so, oh, that's so, I can't believe this guy relapsed. That's weird. I mean, I've been struggling with this shit for years, way before I knew you guys. I was doing drugs. I mean, the stories I tell you are not like made up stories. Like, these things happen. Not saying it's right. And I'm embarrassed by it. Mostly I'm embarrassed that my mental health like deteriorated that quickly. Now, I talked to Avery. He's the editor for the doc. He's been working on the film for about a year. So he's seen, and I've known him since 2016 when I was married. You are such a drug addict. Like, he knew me when I was like a full-blown alcoholic back then. So he was like there for the breakdown. Remember, I ended up owing him like a shitload of money when I went to prison, right around the breakdown period. And I paid him back. I got out and I paid him back. I'm solid like that. But yeah, he's been my friend for a long time. And he was saying that these episodes that I have, it's like cyclical. Like, I'll be like cool. And I'll be like, I'm sad. Hey, what are you doing? Oh no, you want to have a breakdown? All right. Does it cost money? No. It's free? Yeah, I'm into it. I just have these breakdowns, but they seem to be spurred on by when things go well for me. It's almost like I get so excited when like shit's going my way. Like, so much good shit happened, like back to back to back to back. And then I can't sleep. See, that's what happened. That always, that always happens before I have like these little episodes with drugs and like mental health shit, where like I won't sleep just out of excitement because I have such bad racing thoughts, and then like I self-medicate with the racing thoughts, and because I get suicidal ideation, and it's really weird. I don't know if other people have this, but like I'll start thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that'd be chill to kill myself. That sounds super dope right now. I'm in the mood. I'm feeling it. And then I just obsess about it. I'm like, wait, if I killed myself, I wouldn't even have to make videos anymore. Why wouldn't I do that? I'm gonna do it. And then I think about it. Like, I'm like, all right, so I'm a chronic fuck up, and it doesn't get better. It only gets worse. Like, it never gets better. It's like worse. I have like enemies like on ice, like ice skating, gangs of ice skating enemies. Like, you're a bitch. I'm like, fuck, you guys found me again. And so then I start like tricking myself. I'm like, yeah, of course I'd be better off dead. You should do it. Let's think about like gory ways that it can happen. And then I'm serious though. I start tripping out. And then the racing thoughts get so severe that like I like want to shut them up. And heroin was always the thing that really, that or smoking crack, that worked too. Because I just get so out there that I wouldn't even think. Like, racing thoughts, but it would just be like on crack. I'm like, all right, well, these thoughts are weirder than normal, but at least they're not normal, because I can't cope with that. And so that's kind of what happened. And then I just like went off on like just a insanely sick one. Almost lost everything I have, but I didn't. And that's like the irony. It's like, then I have to like sit in like all this like self-loathing shit. It's like a horrible place to be. Like, inside of my brain is like not cool. That's why I'm always on the phone. Always. Like, I can't be alone. Like, if I'm alone, I'm just I don't know. I think that like that first time when I did 60 days in solitary without a book or anything, where I was just like staring at the walls, like something happened, like I blew a gasket, and then I blew a guard. I was like, I'm crazy, I'll suck your dick, what's up? And like ever since that happened, I go to some really dark places, like when I'm like that. I get in these like weird manic fits, and it's just like really weird. But I gotta I'm gonna start going to therapy, start going to psychiatry, because I'm batshit crazy. Like, and I know that. And if it was just about me, like, I'm cool with it. If it was just me, I'd probably just do drugs all the time without any clothes on. Like, well, I'm gonna wear my shirt, but no pants. You want to get loaded? All right. But now I have kids, so it's like, so I can't be that selfish. I gotta just address my problems. And they're embarrassing. They're like J-Cat shit. They're like weird ass. I can't even believe I have friends at all. I don't. What if I don't have any? What if I don't know anyone. Nope. All right, let's see. I'm getting weird. I'm in really no physical condition to do a video. Like, it's like I'm really, really nauseous. So if I puke, like, I just realized that I have to do this right now. So I'm just like gonna do it. So like, I'm not promising that I'm not gonna just like puke in the. And what's really ironic is I've been ordering. Oh God, I'm so fucking nauseous right now. Where is it? These things. I order these off Amazon. Mackerel fillets. And like, this is what I eat in prison. Typically dope sick. Like, I like live off this shit when I'm kicking in jail. So like puking I'm like, it like really feels like I'm locked up. Except I have sex with women. But besides that, it's like jail. All right, let's get into the story. No, seriously, I've been puking up mackerel. I'm like, ugh, it like reminds me of being in jail, for real. All right, so let's get into the story. So I've never really, this is like an old story. It's probably like, I mean, in my opinion, this is one of my more, like, I guess, infamous stories. But you guys never really knew, like, what happened after, you know? I, like, tried to go into it in a series one time, but I don't know if it ever went anywhere. But this is just a way for me to, like, get back into story mode. So this is about the time I stabbed the skinhead. But, like, what happened to those people after? Pretty interesting. So I don't know if you guys remember, but this happens when I was 19. And I love you so much, poo-poo daddy. After she broke my heart, I was broken hearted. And I ended up moving in with this dude named Pablo. Now this guy like had me basically just, I was basically just a runner for him. I was that guy. I was like, are you sure you want to quit? All right, I'll see you tomorrow, bro. You know, because that's how people get, like, when they're strung out. It's like, and I've been there. I've told runners shit like that. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm really trying to clean up. I'm really trying to turn my life around. The runner doesn't give a fuck. Runner's not trying to hear that. When I was a runner, I was certainly like, oh, okay, cool. Good luck, bro. All right. Yeah, no, do you want me to meet you at the same spot tomorrow at 4? All right, cool. It's like that, you know. And I didn't really like being a runner because, you know, when I was selling drugs, like on a bigger level, like when I started selling ounces and then pounds and then keys and shit, I never really got beyond that. I mean, pounds was pretty much all I was selling. I sold keys of coke and stuff and Molly, but not like keys of heroin. But when I was doing that, I was dealing with drug dealers, you know, and it's not like they make you depressed. It's like, oh, Dude, I am getting so fucking over making tons of money right now and not working a real job. This shit sucks. You don't hear shit like that. But when you're a runner, you hear you hear crazy shit. Like when I was working for that guy, there was this couple and, like little, like kind of like festival kids, I guess. Like the girl didn't shave her armpits. And like when I first met them, they were just like, yeah, we like to tour, we like fish, all that. No, yeah, heroin, we just fuck with it on the side, just a bit, just a tad. Yeah, we smoke it. No, we're good. Like by the end, they had like full blown acne, and the dude's like, my chick will suck your cock for a sack. And I was like, dude, I can't even get a boner because I'm strung out too. What do you mean? He's like, yeah, I was joking. You just want to listen to music. It's like bamboo oriented music. I'm like, oh. And you watch like this moral degradation happen. And it sucks. I mean, like, I never liked that because I'm not a bad dude. Like, I never liked watching people just completely like implode on drugs. But as a runner, I'd see it all the time. Anyway, I was living with this dude. Pablo used to be a pro skater. Like in the 80s. Like it's like not even when pro skating was cool. Had like elbow pads. I have like pictures of him like this with like politicians. It's like, yeah, it's back at, the ramp jam. Fucking, Del Mar 87. I'm like, I'm not impressed by this shit. You're a drug dealer now. You're a bad person. He's like, I know, but it's kind of cool to look back. And for real. And I forget what company he was on. Santa Cruz or something. This is like back when it was vert skating. I don't know. That was like before my time. And he had just become this, I guess, pretty big figure in Santa Barbara. Why he fucked with me, I don't know. I don't know why anybody ever liked me, especially when I was like a weaselly little junkie. But the fact of the matter is I was living with this guy. And he'd kind of creep me out. Like, there was like multiple times where he'd be like butt naked and like lean in the doorway and he'd be like, sup, man? Did you use my deodorant? I'm like, no. He's like, can I smell your armpits? I swear, this is not a joke. This is what he would say to me. I was like, damn, I might get raped by this guy. And he used to be pro skater, so I'm pretty worried about it. You know what I mean? He had like big calves. Yeah, he was weird. He was always naked. I think he was low-key trying to creep on me a little bit. I mean, I was a kid. I was like fucking 19 years old at the time. Dude was like in his 40s. And he always had these young-ass, rail-thin girlfriends. And they would like get in fights over him. They'd be like, Pablo loves me. Ryan, can you make some SpaghettiOs? You're a runner. Do something runny. I'm like, okay. I'll make the SpaghettiOs. You guys just hang on. I'm hungry too. And I'd like make us SpaghettiOs. So anyway, so one day, Pablo sends me to this needle exchange in Santa Barbara. Now, the needle exchange, just like in the first chapter of Wasting Talent, was located in this gay and lesbian center. Now, this is like before gay and lesbians were like celebrated. This is like back when they were like still villainous. They like wore capes and shit. I'm like, are you a gay? They're like, yeah. All right. I'm not. Yeah, I didn't think you were. But I'd have to go to this gay and lesbian center. Now, I was not homophobic at that point in my life, but still, it would make me uncomfortable when gay dudes would hit on me. Like all the time. And it would be like super flagrant. Like I'd be like at this place, like reading a magazine. I'd like make sure that it was like some shit to prove I was like not gay. Reading like Hustler. I'm like, damn. Pretty into this chick that I'm looking at naked. No dicks here. Huh? Oh, hey, man. And guys would be like, hey man, has anyone ever told you it looks like you have a big dick? And I'd be like, yeah, I've heard that before. Why? Oh, I don't know. I was just thinking about it, maybe. Swear. Like, they'd say stuff like that. And I talk about it in the book. They'd have like these theme days. So, like, Mondays would be like for like gay youth people. Tuesdays would be like lesbian day, and I'd always like try to go to that one. And like in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'll run into a lipstick lesbian, even though I only saw them in like porn videos. In real life, they'd be wearing like greaser jackets and shit. I'd be like, fuck, they're not bi, I can tell. And then there was like transgender Wednesdays, whatever it was like on and on. But like the needle exchange would only be open from like a certain amount of time. To be like Monday from 4 to 4:30 p.m. But it was like even more random. It was like 4 to 4:34. And so you'd see like every junkie in town there. But see, back then it was more like it's not like how it is now where like it's just all out there and you can like go to the pharmacy and just buy like a 10-pack of syringes. Back then, like this was like, back then it was illegal to buy syringes. Fuck, I feel like I'm gonna throw up right now. It was illegal to buy syringes back then. So like, this was the only spot that you could get needles. I think you could order them off eBay, and I think that we did that. I want to say, I know when I lived with Paul, that like we used to order them off eBay, and it'd be like super sketchy. You'd like open the box, and there'd be like some porcelain doll, and there'd be like one rig like up its ass. You'd be like, fuck, I love this vendor. But it just wasn't like it is now, where it's just out in the open. So it'd be like really weird, like. You go to this exchange and like people would act like that's not what they're doing. Like you'd see fellow heroin addicts. You're like, what's up? What's up, Barry? What are you doing here? He's like, nothing. Just hanging out with lesbians. You too? Yeah. And then like the little like door would open like in the corner. They'd be like, next. It'd always be some gay dude, right? Which is like, you know, whatever. But it was like super like it'd be like themed gay people. It'd be like dressed up like a lifeguard one day. Like the next day it'd be like some like foreign taxi driver. Like, dude, I know you're the same guy underneath all these costumes. He's like, so I am. And they'd like, I'd always get hit on by these gay dudes. Now, at that point in my life, I was like super shot out. Like, zits everywhere. For some reason I'd buck her teeth back then too. I'd be like, I don't know why anybody would want to have sex with me, but it was flattering. So I didn't get that. When I'd be at Pablo's house, these bulimic chicks would be like fighting over him, like never me. I'm like, I have a dick too. Like, shut up, acne face. I'm like, all right. And so you'd go into this like back office thing, and they would only give you new needles if you had old ones to exchange. It's the needle exchange. But, like, for some reason, I would just never have old needles. But you could have, like, a cap, like an orange, like a cap of a syringe would count. So I always had, like, these, like, caps, like, in little gram bags. But I brought one. Okay, you can have one needle, you know? So, like, back then, needles were so hard to find. Like, everybody had these, like, home, you know, makeshift ways to, like, sharpen the needles. Like, we would always use matchbooks, you know, like the striker on a matchbook, like, sharpen it. Like, I'd use the same needle for, like, 4 months. It was, like, ridiculous. I'd have, like, abscesses that smelled like urinal fucking, the little, like, orange cups that were in urinals. Like, that's how my arm smelled. I'm like, damn, this is super, I don't know. This could probably kill me. And they'd only give you what you'd exchange. So, like, if you brought one cap, they'd give you one needle, and on and on. It was just absurd. I went to like, I remember I went to a needle exchange in Monterey with Paul one time. It was ridiculous. They gave you crack pipes, they gave you tourniquets, bleach. I was like, what the fuck? You guys are so pampered up here. Santa Barbara, they give you one needle for every needle that you exchange. And like, and it was back in that time period too. Like, you got to realize, like, the laws have been liberalized like quite a bit since then. So like back then, even if you got caught with like a needle, like you went to jail for that shit, you know? I know it's still like that in other parts of the country, but it's not in California. Like in California now, you can get caught with like heroin and you don't even go to jail. They like ticket you for it. It's a misdemeanor. Sometimes they it just depends on who's arresting, but typically you're not going to go to jail for a simple possession. Back in that time period, you went to prison for it. So, in possession of like syringes, that was like paraphernalia. Anyway, it was like very illegal to have drug paraphernalia, and these needle exchange programs like weren't even legal. They were like really like on the borderline of legality. They were always in these gay and lesbian offices. I don't know why. It's like, I don't know what like gay and lesbian centers had to do with needle exchanges. Maybe it was just because it was like they were more progressive or whatever, but I always found it weird, you know? Like I said, I didn't have anything against gay people, but I'd get hit on like hardcore. I'd be like, yeah, I got $30. You want to come home with me and bathe? I'm like, yeah, I'm good, dude. I live with Pablo. Like, that's your man? I'm like, yeah. He used to be pro. They're like, okay. So anyway, one day I go to this needle exchange and I had like, I remember having like, I had enough where I got like I got like a bunch of clean needles. And they would always give it to you in this little like brown paper lunch bag. Now, people were super paranoid about this exchange. And it's true. Cops would go there. Undercover cops would like be sitting in there. They'd like see like a badge in their like belt and they'd like try to act all low key. They'd be reading like Junkie Digest. You'd be like, all right, I don't buy this. They'd be wearing like plaid and shit. You're like, man, that looks like straight up, looks like that guy's name is Murphy or something. Like you could just like tell that they were a cop. And you'd get your needles and then they would follow you out of there and then they'd arrest you for the needles. So you go get needles at this exchange, which wasn't really legal, and then they'd follow you home and then they'd arrest you. So it was like sketchy going there. But anyway, this one particular day I go and they give me this lunch bag full of needles. I'm leaving and I end up seeing this girl named Karina. That's her real name. The book I call her Gina. She's sitting on the curb. She's crying. I totally remember her makeup was like running. It was like a collage of, I think in the book I said it was a collage of blush and eyeliner or whatever. Like it was just, she was a mess. She sees me, she's like, oh, I'm so dope sick. I was like, I didn't even recognize her. I was like, Karina? Now, Karina, back up, right? I mean, if we're redoing the story, I may as well go into the more intricate details of it. Karina was dating this guy, I forget what his name was, but when we were in high school, there was a cafe called Sienna. It's where all the ravers hung out, the hackers, the rollerbladers, like shit like that. Super cliche shit. Like all like the druggies would hang out at this cafe called Sienna. Gothic kids, all that shit. And that wasn't my scene. I mean, I wasn't drinking lattes and like talking about ecstasy tabs or whatever, but I guess that was like a thing back then. And we used to go to this cafe, Sienna, to buy drugs. Now, I remember the first time I went there to buy drugs, I bought them off this guy named Blue. It was a guy named Blue. I know a girl named Blue as well, but this was a guy named Blue. I never even saw him again after this. But he had like some choker on. Like, you know, this like little like metallic balls on his neck. I'm like, dude, those are some badass balls on your neck. He's like, I'm blue. I sell drugs. It was just like that. And I was like, do you have any E? He's like, I do. And so he sold me these, they're like these like press pills, and they had the Super Mario like flower on it. And I remember like buying, he's like sold me like $40 a hit. I was like, fuck yeah, it sounds like a steal, man. And I got 3 of these ecstasy pills. So ironically, I went and well, not ironically, but I went and I remember I spent the night at Preston's house. I was like, I have ecstasy. We should take it and trip out on electronic music. He's like, yeah, all right. And so we split it. Like, we took a pill and a half. And it was the kind of thing where, like, we took it and, like, he's like, do you feel it? Like, you, like, want it to work, but you don't. But you lie. You're like, yeah, I feel it. We should totally take our shirts off and fag off. He's like, I don't feel nothing. Like, push me. No, I'm just kidding. No, we took this shit at his mom's house and it just didn't do anything. We got burned by this guy, Blue. So I remember we go back to this Cafe Siena, like, of course, like when we could get a ride from our parents. And I remember getting a ride down there. And we were like, yeah, we're gonna, is Blue around? And like all these like gothic guys were like, there's no one named Blue that hangs out here. We were like telling him our story about how we'd gotten burned for this ecstasy. And like, for some reason, like some like guy ran up, this like punk rock guy, like a mohawk. I was like 15 at the time. And they're like, dude, we found Runner, right? Coincidentally, I know this started off talking about runners, but this is what this guy's name was, Runner. It's like this some guy's handle. And everyone's like, no way. And like this whole cafe, this like school of like these like druggy freaks starts running like down the street. And like me and Preston like look at each other, we're like, let's run with them. And we're like running. I felt like we're in some drug addict parade or something. And we get to this parking lot. I barely remember this, but like we end up getting to this parking lot and they have this homeless dude named Runner, and they're like sitting there smashing this dude out with a brick. It happened like away from us, so like I didn't see it up close, but there's this guy named Runner. He was a chomo, registered sex offender. And his name is Runner because they could never catch him. Like they knew he was like a registered sex offender. And like every time he like would come around, they'd all chase him. So they called him Runner. And you're probably like, that's such bullshit. This story started out with the guy. No, I swear this is on my kid. There's a chomo named Runner, right? And I remember they just beat the fuck out of him. Now, one of the dudes that beat him up, so this like happened in a parking lot, but like Preston was like, hey bro, that looks really violent. Let's stay away. So we didn't like really go up, but I guess they like beat this homeless dude up with the brick. They like bashed his face in or something. And I remember this like guy came up and he had like an Adidas visor and he had like spiked hair that was like bleached at the tips. And he was like, I spit on him. And they're like, oh. And we ended up meeting him. I forget what the guy's name was, but this guy with this Adidas visor and these bleached tip spiked hair, which I was like, damn, did you see his tips? He's like, yeah, shit was pretty fire. I was like, yeah, I don't think we said fire back then, but we end up meeting this guy and, God, I can't remember his name for the fucking life of me, but he was Karina's boyfriend. And this guy was like the prince of Cafe Siena. Now, Karina back then was really good looking. She was like the princess of this cafe scene. He was like the prince. They were like the two best looking people. And I remember the first time I saw her, I was just like, She looked so much older than me, but she wasn't. She was the same age. We were probably 15, like I said. But she had like huge tits, you know? And like I'd never seen that before. It was like fucking really, it was like an endangered species or something. Like elbowed pressed him, like, did you see the chick's tits? He's like, yeah, but did you see the guy's bleached tips? I was like, yeah, I saw the bleached tips, but did you see the chick's tits? He's like, yeah. It was cool. Preston ended up dating her years later. So did I. We both dated this girl. Well, I guess I didn't date her, but I used to fuck her all the time. So anyway, that's how I met her. I forget what her boyfriend's name was, but they were like popular in like this druggy cafe underworld or whatever. 4 years later, I ended up running into her at this exchange. Now, I hadn't seen her. I may have seen her, you know, on and off, run into her from time to time up until that point. But this was like the first time that I was like really ever hanging out with her. And she's like, I'm so dope sick. And I could tell that she was pregnant. And I tried to act like I was like, wait a second, are you pregnant? And she's like, yeah, me being dope sick can kill the baby. Don't be selfish. Get me drugs. I was like, okay. And I had this connection named Ian. Now, Ian was kind of like a transplant. I don't even know how I knew him, but he was this like drug dealer that had moved up from Orange County, which is like 2.5 hours away from Santa Barbara. And he moved up there, and he always wore a Dodgers hat or a Anaheim Angels hat. I remember he had like these little beady black eyes. You know, he really looked a lot like Stephen Gabriel, the director guy. But Ian was a weird dude. And it was the kind of thing where like someone had introduced me to him. I was strung out. Probably ran up a tab with him. Burned him. I was like, he's not even from here, fuck it. And I just had burned it. But he lived, you know, 6-7 blocks from this exchange. Karina had asked me if I could get anything, and that she had money and that she'd pay for it. Now, to get to Pablo's, I had to take the bus out to this town called Isla Vista. That would have taken me like well over an hour. And I was strung out. I didn't have any dope on me. I'd just gotten these clean needles, and all I had to do was go back to his place, and he would get me well. Jesus, I feel so sick right now. I'm trying so hard because it's been a long time since I've done a story. I'm going to keep trying. So I was like, well, I do know this one guy, Ian. He's from Orange County. She's like, oh my God, I have money. I was like, all right, cool. How much do you have? She's like, I have enough for 2 grams. I have $100. Because back then, grams were $50. Nowadays, they're like 80. I mean, you can't even get heroin nowadays, but if like you could, it'd be $80 a gram. Back then, it was $50. I remember when I first started, it was 60. Like when I first got into heroin back in like 01, it was like $60 a gram of black tar. This is like 03 at this point, and it was like $50 a gram. And I think if you got 3 of them, it went down to $40 a gram or something. But I do remember specifically that she could afford 2 grams for $100. And I was like, so I was going to take the bus out to Pablo's, but you're telling me that if I can score something for you, you'll get me well now? And she's like, that's right. And I was like, you know, instant gratification always wins when you're a drug addict. So we end up walking to Ian's house. I took video footage of his place, and I posted it before, and it was in the cut of my documentary. We get to his place. I asked her for the money, and she pulls out this like yellow and blue, looks like Monopoly money or something. I was like, what the fuck is that? And she's like, it's Korean. And I was like, dude, I owe this motherfucker money. He's not gonna give me anything for foreign money. What are you thinking? She's like, just try. I was like, all right. So I go and see, it's hard to tell this particular story because I wrote about it in my book. It's like hard to separate fact from fiction. I've told the story so many fucking times, but I also wrote it in my book differently than the way it actually happened. So I like forget how it even happened. This is like when I was like 19. It's so hard for me to remember this story. But if I remember correctly, she gives me the fake money. And I walk up to Ian's front door. It's like this long gravel driveway. I walk up to it. I knock on the door, and a skinhead opens up. Now, I call him Stomper in the book. In real life, his name was Stoner, and he was from Nazi Lowriders. NLR, dude. From the time I was 19 until recently, I was green-lighted by NLR. Like, they wanted to kill me over this. And I was like a little kid when I did this. So I really, honestly, I didn't know any better. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing. This guy Stoner opens the door. Now, this guy looks like Uncle Fester. Imagine Uncle Fester, but a skinhead. The NLR's not even skinheads. It's like that. It's Nazi lowrider. It's like SA-looking skinheads. Cool. Let's worship Hitler. All right. Dap it up. White power. Can I get a white power? White power. He opens the door and he's like, this is where it gets kind of blurry from what I remember happening. But basically, I asked for Ian. He calls Ian. Ian comes up. Now, Ian was like a hardcore tweaker, right? And I already owed him money. Like I said, I burned this dude. I don't even remember what I burned him for. But I owed him money. And he's like, oh. And of course I was like, dude, you have no idea what happened. I took on a wild pack of baboons. They tried to mug me. I stabbed them with a spear. I went to county jail. Duh. Tried to play it off like I'd been busted. He's like, do you have my money? I was like, well, I got $100 in Korean money. But you can have it and just give me like a gram. And he's like, what? And he like grabs the money and he rips it up right in front of me, like turns it into confetti. Get the fuck out of here, junkie. Bring Korean money to my house. The Nazi lowrider was like, yeah. Fucking hate foreign shit. I was like, yeah, checks out. So I leave. Stumble back. Like, I'm like pissed. I'm like, God damn it. Could have been on the bus. I could have been back to Pablo making SpaghettiOs for crack whores. And now I'm stuck with this pregnant girl. And she wasn't bad looking at that point. I'm still friends with her. Like, remember like the last time I saw Karina, she was working at Jack in the Box. Not that many years, a few years ago. I was like, hey. And she's like, hey. And I was like, you still want to lick my ass? She's like, who doesn't want to lick your ass, Ryan? And I was like, I was totally joking, but can I get the 2 tacos for 99 cents? She's like, sure. That was the last time I saw her. I've been trying like hell to get her to come on the show, but I don't know. She's hard one to wrangle. She's got kids now and shit. She had a kid back then, but she's like, I guess not down. She's like ashamed of her junkie ways. That's weird. I wonder why she's ashamed of sucking dick for drugs when she's pregnant. So I go back to her and I tell her that, of course, that I gotta take this money. It's Korean money. These guys are like straight up skinheads. Or at least the Stoner dude is. Ian, I don't think he was affiliated with anything, but that guy Stoner was an LR. Guys, I'm like really feeling horrible right now. I just feel like fucking throwing up. It sucks. Oh, fuck, excuse me. So I tell Karina, I was like, look, they ripped up the money. She's like, oh my God, my baby's gonna die. I'll suck their cock. I was like, now, back then, really, I didn't have much of a moral compass. I didn't even question the shit. Like, it wasn't the kind of thing. You know, getting harassed right now by some fucking weirdo on Facebook. Anyway, come on, Ryan, stop calling it in. Tell the goddamn story. So, now I go back up to them and I was like, look, I got this chick. She'll suck your dick. Now, Ian, I'm pretty positive, really was not into chicks because he was just such a weirdo and he's a tweaker. And I always just have a natural bias against tweakers anyway. But this guy Stoner was like all about it. He's like, yo, I want to get my dick sucked. And I was like, well, I can make that happen. He's like, is she hot? He's like nudging me. We're like homies now. He's like, come on, is she hot? I was like, she's hotter than hot. He's like, bring her on in. So I end up bringing Karina to this front door. Now, she's pregnant. She's got a bulge. She's showing. I guess to some people, hot is not that. You know? And, like, they say as much to her. But, like, they've, like, straight humiliated her to her face. They're like, dude, this chick is so shot out. Are you joking? And I say my famous line. I was like, come on, dude. What do you mean? A mouth has no face. I don't even know what that fucking means. And I don't know why I said something so absurd. But I said that to them. So he agrees to get his dick sucked. So I walk into this house. I bring the bag of needles. I set it by the couch. I sit with Ian. Now, Ian always weirded me out. Like, I'm sitting there. He's asking me if I want to smoke. You know, I was not into smoking meth back then, but I, like, shot it. But I didn't do it, you know, for some reason. I don't really remember why. I was just, by this point, I was sick, too. And I just want to get the fuck out of there. And, oh, yeah. The reason I didn't smoke is because I was sick. And, like, some people say that crystal meth, like, makes you less sick. But for me, it always amplified it. It always made me feel way, way worse. So, as we're sitting there, the phone rings. But this is like back in the time period where it's like landlines. You know, it's not like how it is now where everybody has cell phones. So Ian gets up off the couch, walks into the room where Stoner's getting his dick sucked by Karina. I'm like sitting on the couch, I'm like yawning, I'm all dope sick. There's like tears coming out of my eyes. And he runs out, he's like, fucking bitch stole my dope. So I think in the book I said that he complained about her scraping or whatever, like her teething when she sucked his dick. But in real life, that's not what happened. In real life, what happened is he got a phone call. He goes into the room and he had 2 grams, not an ounce. In the book I said an ounce. In real life, there was 2 grams and he accuses her of stealing it. So by the time she comes back in, like there's all this commotion. I don't even know what's going on. They come out and she's got blood all over her face. Like this dude like put hands on her. I was so weak and feeble. I wish I could say that I like tried to like defend her. I was so weak and feeble, and these guys, and like the guy Ian was like just some lanky dude. He's like some kind of squirrely kid. But that guy Stoner was actually pretty big. He was big and he looked like Uncle Fester. He had like a light bulb coming out of his face. Oh my God, man. Jesus, I feel so shitty right now. I'm like fighting off the urge not to throw up. It sucks. But as we say, the show must go on. So he's like, they're making this huge commotion over it, you know, talking about how she stole these 2 grams. They want to strip search her. That's where I drew the line. I was like, look, dude, you're not going to strip search this chick. Like, she already sucked your fucking ugly friend's dick. We're out of here. Fuck you. Dude pulls out a butterfly knife and threatens me with it. Tells me he's going to stab me. Now, in my experience, people don't like threaten to stab people. Even young, I knew that this dude was just barking. We get into this like kind of like verbal altercation where he's like, look, I'll kill you. And he's like brandishing this knife, and I'm just like, okay. Like, I was like, I'm so dope. I don't even care if I do die. Then I won't be done. What am I going to be, dead and dope sick at the same time? It doesn't even make sense. Kicks us out of there. Now Stoner had hit her in the face. I remember her eye was all swollen, right? And she was bleeding. Like he must have beat her pretty bad or whatever. We go out, like they basically are like, get the fuck out of here, you junkie thieves. Like they knew that we had stolen from them. And we get outside, she just starts laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing? And she pulls out 2 grams from her bra. She's like, I got the dope. I was like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You know, the last thing that I wanted to be known for at that time was stealing heroin from people. Like, Santa Barbara's a small town. I knew that she would get back. Like, it's like a big mistake on her part. Like, you know, there's going to be repercussions for me probably. You know, it's like, in a small town like that, there's probably like 2 or 3 people that sell dope. At least back in that time period. So I was like all pissed off at her. But she's like, well, do you want to do the dope or not? But of course I left the needles in the house. So Jeff and I had already tried to rob them before. We'd already planned it. And one time when we were over there, it had like these old school windows that had a latch on them. Jeff like broke the window on purpose. The whole plan is that we were going to like go there. Like one of us was like going to stand guard, make sure that they weren't there. And then one of us was going to crawl into the window because there's this like old stack of firewood, like right beneath the bathroom window. And like the way he broke the latch, they couldn't tell that the window was open, but it was. I was like, just stand guard out front. I'm going to go sneak in, get the bag of needles, and we can go shoot it up, because that's how stubborn we were. It was like, I was like willing to risk my life to get the needles back, even though I knew it was a bad decision. Oh God, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Sucks so much. It's hard to tell a story when I'm in this condition. I go around back. Like, there's really like no way they could see me the way that I went. I went around the back. I climb up on this old pile of firewood. I open the bathroom window, like really slowly. I remember it like made a creaking sound as I opened it. I lower myself down. Now, I had some adrenaline and shit, but I remember like I was just sick and I was just focused on getting the bag of needles and getting out of there. So I lower myself down. I'm Indian style, like I'm crawling like military style on the floor. I crawl out of the bathroom and I see the bag of needles. Now in the book I say that they're kissing and that they were these gay lovers. I made all that shit up. That never happened. In real life though, they're like bumping this like screamo, like thrice or something. I see the bag of needles. I literally like am sneaking, like I'm like on my like stomach, crawling through this hallway. I get to the couch. I see the bag of needles. I grab it. I do a 180 on my stomach, and I'm just about to leave, and my cell phone starts ringing. It's one of those ringtone. This is like back in the time where it's just like very like archaic, like do 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 do. It's the Pink Floyd Money. I knew I was fucked right when it started ringing, and I like try to like stumble up to get out of there. By the time I got up, I still had the bag of needles in hand. And Stoner picked me up, pushed me against the wall. And Ian came up with the butterfly knife, like shaking. Stoner's like, look at this little junky piece of shit. Ian comes up and he's like shaking the knife at me. Like he's all like, you could tell he was like all freaked out, like scared. Like he didn't want to do it. He was hesitating. They hit me. Stoner had hit me in the face and broken my nose. I heard it crunch instantly. Like I knew that my nose was broken. And my eyes watered up, like they swelled shut, watered up and everything. Somehow I got loose. I dart out the front door. There's like these 2 concrete steps and I jump like to get like I'm like trying to get like a head start. I still have the bag of needles. And as soon as I do that, like Ian's right behind me, like chasing after me with the knife because Stoner's like, get him. Ian trips. The knife falls. It was really crazy because like I just happened to look back and I see the knife fall, like as he's chasing me with it. Like I jump off these 2 concrete steps, he jumps right after me. The knife falls and it's like he sees that I can grab the knife. It's like either he's gonna grab it or I'm gonna grab it. I grab the knife and I fucking stab him right above the kneecap. It was just out of instinct. I was out of self-defense. Blood starts spewing out, spurting, like pulsating. It does not look real. You know, in real life, like when violence like that happens, it looks fake as fuck. And the way I described it before is it felt like I was like sticking a knife inside of a pumpkin. I literally felt it hit a bone. Like it like thud, stopped right at the bone. And it was just a disgusting feeling. I like pulled the knife out and blood was just, arterial blood was just sprayed all over him. I grabbed the knife and I threw it over the fence. And Karina was like, oh my God. Oh yeah. I had left the bag of needles in the house. Like when we got in that little altercation. And she's like, where are they? And I was like, who? And she's like, the needles. And I was like, and that guy Stoner was so freaked out that I'd stabbed Ian. He's like stuck in shock. Karina runs in, grabs the needles, and we run right out of there. And we go do our dope in a Taco Bell bathroom. Now, the reason that I warmed up with this story is because I want to tell you what happened with these 2 people after all of this happened. Probably like a 2-part story. You got to realize the reason I'm doing this story and not another one is because I don't have the energy or enthusiasm because I feel sick as all shit. I'm going to make this like a 2-part story and that'll just warm me back up into actually telling a story. And I apologize that I'm sick. It's my fault. I fucked up by getting back on drugs. But I got 5 days clean right now and I'm proud of those 5 days. I worked hard to get them. I appreciate you guys. We'll continue this in the follow-up video. I think I'm going to go throw up now. Palabra.